Welcome back to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. 4 fruit trees that you may want to consider just a few seconds away. But first, a message from our good friends of Farmers Defense.
Farm and garden in the ultimate comfort. Farmers Defense has lightweight and durable sleeves made to protect you against the elements while farming. Farmer sleeves offer unparalleled protection.
Gardening too.
Yeah, of arms and skin for any farmer, gardener, or outdoor worker. Say goodbye to irritated skin and sunburns in the garden. Their sleeves offer cooling comfort and protection against the elements outdoors. An alternative to thick clothing, Farmers Defense is made of wicking material with UBF protection factor of 50 plus to protect you from allergens and scratches. To find all their great products and more, you can visit farmersdefense.com.
On the farm, in the garden, on the construction site, they have a product for you to make your environment, your personal environment, more comfortable and enjoyable to get the job done right.
Well, Joey.
Yes.
Let's talk about fruit trees.
Fruit trees. Yes. Okay.
What's that story about the tree? You want to grow a tree today or tomorrow or next year? When's the best time to plant a tree?
Best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The next best time is to plant a tree now. And blessed is the man who or woman who plants a tree but never sees it grow.
Yeah.
That's a proverb of some sort.
Yeah.
Did
I throw you off?
No.
No? Oh.
So a lot of people think fruit trees, that's a southern thing. Fruit trees, it's got to be warm, which it is true for certain fruit trees, yes.
For certain ones, yeah. And
but you'll be surprised here. We've got some that they'll handle down to zone 3.
So we're going to start with apple, which seems the most obvious, and it is. And everybody, loves an apple tree. And unless maybe you don't like apples, then I guess you don't. But they do.
We'll still be friends with you.
They do take normal, like regular apple trees take 5 to 10 years to bear fruit. Right. So you got to have some patience there. But the dwarf varieties can bear at 3 years. And there's some varieties that are sweet and some varieties which are very bitter, or what they call crab apple or like apple pie trees where Granny Smith.
Yeah, you can't eat them. But right. You put them in an apple pie, boom, you're good.
Yeah.
So dwarf varieties, 3 years, and there are certain varieties that will go down to zone 3. That is incredibly cold in the winter.
It is very cold. And so the biggest thing to take away from this is to, whatever you're growing, whatever you want to grow, is to go to your local nursery.
Yes. Because
they're going to have the proper varieties. They're going to have knowledge. Okay, like if you're like, okay, I have this spot here and I want to grow 1 tree, then there are some varieties that you do need 2 trees. And
to pollinate. Right.
So if you just want 1 tree, then they will provide you with that or give you guidance.
Correct. There are trees in which will self-pollinate. There are other trees that you need 2. And there are some trees that are in HOAs, like I think it's a cherry tree that produces the blossoms but does not produce fruit because it is not allowed in certain HOAs, but you're allowed to have the flowers, but you can't have the fruit.
Of course.
HOA, that's a whole nother show that we'll never have because we will never be allowed to have another show once we get done talking about HOAs. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, that's not our problem.
Pear trees.
Yeah.
Which we had one in our yard for a number of years until it ceased to exist because I think it was just age. Nobody knew when it was planted and nobody knew how long, but it was projecting was about 50 plus years old.
It had to be that old at least. So anyway, pear trees are fun because they are, maybe you don't like apples, but you like pears, and they also are hardy down to zone 3, some of them, and they take a little bit less time, 3 to 7 years to bear fruit. And they produce really well. They do a good job. They're typically sweet. I don't think there's like bitter pears.
I don't know. But I do know that if you are in an area in which you have wildlife such as black bear, that you would want to kind of strategically place your fruit trees in a place where it may not be as close to the house as you would typically want, because certain times of the year bears are looking for food, and if you are in an area not so much suburbia but more urban, bears will come up and rural. Yeah. They will come up and nest under the tree and eat, and if you don't want them near your residence, you would want to have the orchard farther away. So that's your handy, helpful bear tip for the day. So down to zone 3, nursery. Local nursery is the best place. There are some good online retailers that can sell fruit trees to get what you want, where you want it for the right purpose. So you have some variety there.
Yeah, you want to do your research, and just because you can buy it online and get it shipped to your house doesn't mean it's going to work out for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jung Seeds has a variety of different fruit trees, and you can use coupon code TG10TG23. That's 10TG23 to save 10% off your orders at jungseeds.com. I've butchered that. Let's do that again. Coupon code for all of you who are keeping track, 10TG23 at jungseed.com in order to get your fruit trees there if you want to go that route. But you want to do your research. Just don't grab or click on the first thing you see. You have to read the descriptions, just like many things in life, so you know. So you make fewer mistakes. So you're not making casual, comical mistakes. That you have done your research.
I don't know if planting the wrong tree is a comical mistake. I think you and I would find it funny.
Well, yeah. Oh, we clicked on the first 3 because they were on sale and we got them for 59% off, and none of them are suitable for our zone.
Right. All right, so let's talk
What's
about
our next one?
Peaches.
Peaches, okay.
Now this is a lot. I think this is shocking to a lot of people that you can grow peaches in a colder climate, because people think about like
cold hours.
Yeah, and then think about Georgia, right? Georgia peaches, yeah. Georgia peaches, things like that. And think about the South.
Right. There are, and with all of these trees, there is what is called chill hours or cold hours. There is a certain amount of cold hours either needed or that are needed in order to properly, like garlic needs to be in the ground for so many cold hours from fall to spring in order to bulb correctly. Fruit trees need a certain amount of chill hours. There are certain fruit trees that have been through university campuses, university horticultural departments that have been created by science to be able to accept those cold or chilled hours. And there are some that can't have only but a certain number, and those are the more southern, and the ones in the north is the more chilled hours. So the peaches can be grown in the north and can be grown fairly successfully.
Right, and that's something to know. There is a bunch of varieties here. It's not like you're going to remember any of these, but there's like Canadian Harmony, Glowhaven, Reliance, Contender, Madison, Intrepid, and Blushing Star, and then also another one called Red Haven. And these take about 3 to 4 years to produce after planting. The harvest time is going to be midsummer to late summer for the zone 3-4ish trees, as opposed to, I think, the other ones that are more hardy is like a July-ish harvest time. I mean, more cool, warm weather.
Right.
Yeah. And then there are dwarf varieties. So
you can do any dwarf variety you can do in a container and then bring it in a climatized environment over the winter to keep it alive if it's not suitable for the zone in which you are in. But peaches may be a great addition to your backyard, and just like many of these other ones, you may have to, I'm not familiar, I think most of them you're going to have a pollinating, you're going to have 2 of them in order to pollinate. Now cherries, we have a cherry bush, but there are cherry trees.
Right. That's isn't that George Washington that cut down a cherry tree?
I don't think he cut down anything. I think the story was very, very blown out of proportion.
You think it was like one of the stories that parents tell their kids to keep them honest? Yeah.
Don't do that, otherwise the tree will fall on you or something. It's
right.
one of these terrible things that every generation has added to it and just gotten so out of whack that there's no truth to it whatsoever.
All right, so we have a cherry bush, and is it ever going to produce? It's
produced, but the birds get to it. Now it's bitter.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's a tart cherry.
It's a tart cherry, and that's what you need to be aware of. Is the zone 4 or 5 are more tart than the sweeter varieties in the warmer climates.
Yeah.
So you want to be aware of that you don't think you're just going to get this wonderful, beautiful, sweet cherry tree if you are in central Minnesota.
And then there's those other cherries, the Rainier cherries.
Yes.
Rainier, that grow in a more wet climate like the Pacific Northwest. So there's that too. But anyway, cherries go down to zone 4 and 5, and then as you go up in the zones, they get sweeter. And this is something that takes about 3 years to establish, and then would bear fruit in the 4th year.
Like asparagus.
And yeah, they can produce up to 30 to 50 quarts of fruit in a season. So you would get a bunch of cherries.
Now, with all of these, and we've all heard these stories about orchards that are around, with all of these, if you don't get a late frost and they don't have buds on it when the frost happens, then you get the proper amount of water if you're not using the tree diaper or the water tree hugger sprinkler. There's a lot of variables in order to get that 30 to 50 quarts of fruit a season. Because that weather, that frost we get these late frosts and these things have already budded, and then these orchards, these orchards are, and we've seen it run, helicopters. They put bonfires to keep the warmth in so they don't freeze the buds off. So 4 fruit trees in which you may want to grow in your, consider apple, pear, peach, and cherry that you may not have known can be grown in your cold climate. Well, Holly, it is going to be warming up soon. Some portions of the country, it's already warm. We're still fighting it here in southeast Wisconsin, where the show originates from. And when that warmth happens, Japanese beetles and grubs are something that you're going to be fighting with.
With spring just around the corner, it's time to start thinking about controlling beetles and grubs in your garden yard. Or spring's here,
yes,
but with warmth hopefully.
Grub Gone can be applied to the turf or garden around ornamentals to control grubs and lessen the impact that beetles have on your yard this summer. Easy to apply with any commercial spreader or irrigator right into the soil. Biological that specifically targets grubs and beetle invaders without harming the beneficial insects like bees, butterflies, and ladybugs.
And it's the only non-chemical.
Non-chemical, yes, right.
You want to find out more, you can go to phyllombioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com. For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.